In 2014, our goal was to educate and inspire the next generation of young Black leaders. Today, we are in search of the best to reveal the secrets to success. Our belief is that we should teach the young early the things that we learn late. Our lives are shifting the culture. Our lives are changing the narrative. These are the ShineHard conversations.
ShineHard family, welcome back to another episode of ShineHard Conversations. You guys know me, I'm your host, Johnny Bailey, and this week I'm in Brooklyn, New York with celebrity chef Kathleen O'Brien-Price. You also are the star on Real Life Cooking.
Yes, a show I created myself, live streaming on Facebook and Instagram every Sunday at 7 p.m.
Very cool, very cool. So today I want to learn more about your background, how you got started in the cooking industry, and some of the keys to your personal success.
Okay.
So without further ado, Kathleen, it's time to shine.
Oh, ready to shine.
So I know that you were a reality star. You actually won a reality show.
Yes.
What was that?
I won Chopped earlier this year in March. I was on an episode called Look Up the Irish.
Okay.
And so Chopped, for those of you who don't know, who live under a rock, because it's been on for like a million years, it's a competition show where there's 4 chefs, 3 rounds, and there's mystery ingredients.
Okay.
So you go through every round, and my episode happened to be like Irish themed, so all the ingredients are Irish.
Do you have any Irish background or anything?
Yes, so I am half Irish and half Black. So it was funny because I was against a real Irish man from Ireland.
Oh, wow.
And 2 people that worked in Irish restaurants.
Okay.
And then I was probably like, when people watching at home were like, why is she on this episode? It's so weird. And so I was actually intimidated by a lot of the other chefs, or the 2 men especially, because that's your typical like, wow, these are real chefs. They look like real chefs. They're like big burly men. And I'm like here with my sparkly headband, like just like, okay, I've been cooking and like reiterating to myself, I know how to do this.
Yeah.
That experience was so crazy. Because like, it's like, oh my gosh, I just don't want to get out the first round.
You don't want to be the first person.
No,
like
I'm so competitive too, because growing up I was a swimmer.
Okay.
So I swam 12 years of my life, went to like junior Olympics. I still have a high school swim record.
Nice.
So like I'm super competitive, so I don't want to lose. But once I got through the first round, it was like, oh my gosh, I have to do this all over again. It's like all the anxiety building up again.
Oh, I see.
But once the camera started rolling and the basket ingredients came out, it's really like it was really about following my intuition. Like I know how to do this. I've been doing this since I was a little kid. The ingredients might be unique to me. For instance, in the second round, there was a pig's foot that was like fried.
Yeah, they had the craziest ingredients on that show.
I thought it was a rat. I pulled it out and I was like, oh my gosh, like what the heck is this? And then like I realized I wasn't gonna get a meat off it, so I was like, what do people do with bones? They make soup. So I just threw it in the pot and started making a soup. But yeah, that experience was super crazy.
So taking it back like to your background, since you weren't like necessarily working in an Irish restaurant, you had to just pull from your upbringing and your own personal experiences to create that. Talk about your childhood and what growing up was like for you.
So I grew up in California, Southern California, a little place called Marina Valley, which no one's ever heard of, but it's in between LA and Palm Springs. In terms of food options, it's interesting because I feel like I just grew up very American. Like I'm Black and white, but like when anyone ever asks me, favorite question people have been, what are you? I'm always like, I'm American, I'm Californian. And they're like, no, but what are you? And I just feel like I really am just this American person with like, not sad to say, but like no heritage almost in a sense, because California is like just this mixing pot. And I grew up eating Thai food and Mexican food and hamburgers and barbecue. Barbecue is like a huge thing in our house because Southern California, you can barbecue all year.
Yeah.
So that actually kind of, even though I love food, that kind of left me a little lost in the food world as I became a chef, because all these people on TV have like specific types, right? Like this person's cooking Indian food or this person's cooking this kind of food.
And
like
I
feel
niche.
like I cook, exactly, I feel like I cook everything.
I see.
So, and maybe not everything well, like I wouldn't say I'm an authentic Thai cuisine person, but I feel like that added to who I am, but also hurt me in a sense because I feel so lost, like mixed. I have a blog called A Little Mixed Up, and I talk about like struggles of like, it's like food and struggles of like growing up.
Trying to find like your culinary identity.
Yeah, but within my culinary identity, my own identity, because where do I fit in this world?
That's real. That's real. So Talk about where you went to school and what you studied and how that even like affected you to continue on in your cooking career.
So my mom being a teacher,
Yeah.
I went to a 4-year college, even though I wanted to go to culinary school right out of high school.
So you knew, like in high school, like I'm gonna be a chef.
I mean, I sort of knew. I knew I loved food.
Yeah.
I knew I was passionate about it. It was the only thing that made me really excited. But like I said, my mom was a teacher, so she was like, no, you need to go to real school. Which in hindsight, I'm very glad that I did. Ended up going to UC Berkeley, and I got a degree in mass communications.
Okay.
I thought I wanted to be a newscaster. But my degree at UC Berkeley made me realize I hated the news because it's all lies. Like all this theory and concept that you're learning. It's like, why does anyone watch this? It's all controlled by
too
like
many
7
games.
people.
Right.
Exactly. So leaving there, I graduated in 2009, which was the recession. Did you graduate around that?
Yeah, I graduated 2008.
Yeah. So it was like a really horrible time to graduate.
It was a bad time.
It was so bad.
The struggle.
So I decided to go to culinary school then. And so I went to culinary school. I went to a diploma program, which was like half the cost. And I did 5 days a week, 5 hours a day for 7 months in the kitchen, just straight in the kitchen. I loved it. Like I was never sick one day, like college, like I missed a few classes, but I never missed a day. I was never late. And my class was at 6 in the morning. It was 6 to 11. Never missed a day.
That was a real training ground right there. Like,
yeah,
that was hardcore.
It was crazy, but I loved it. It was like, even as tired as I was, as soon as I walked in the kitchen, it was like, oh, this is so interesting. This is so fun. I'm learning. And I was learning, because I like to cook my whole life, I was learning all the techniques and names for things that I was actually already doing.
Right.
So it was so interesting to
You're learning the language of being a culinary artist.
Exactly. Like the first day they had us make spinach, and they were just like, gave us spinach, and they're like, everyone makes spinach. And everyone's like, it took us like all like 45 minutes to make spinach, which is like completely ridiculous because we're all overthinking like, how do we do it? How do we do it? And then at the end, no one made it right because no one even blanched their spinach. Blanching, you dip it in hot water, it keeps it green, you remove the leaves. Like there's all these little steps that you don't necessarily think about at home.
Oh, I see.
But yeah, and everyone was like so amazed, like, oh wow, we have so much to learn. And it's so funny now thinking back, like how long it was, like 8 or 9 years ago. I didn't even know how to make spinach,
right?
Like the proper way.
So culinary school was important.
It was very important, and it was more fun. I mean, now it's expensive though, so you can learn just as much like working in a restaurant. But for me, and I think like the kind of learner that I am, I think culinary school is better. Also, working in restaurants as a woman is very difficult because like I'm not ugly, so like people are always hitting on you, and like it's just like a weird environment, and you have to be like ready for that. And I think when I was that age, I was definitely not ready to just be like thrown in a kitchen.
There's a tons of barriers for women to move up in the workplace because of things like that, like how you look can overshadow your actual skill, and people aren't, measuring the right
like
things.
Even in the kitchen that I did work at a few years later, people would just do things for me because they didn't think I could do it. And sometimes it's good, like, oh, you want to peel all these eggs for me? Cool. Like, I didn't want to do that anyway. But sometimes it's like, dang, I can plate this. Like, I know what I'm doing. So, yeah, restaurants are its own little world. But so I was really lucky, actually, right out of culinary school, I got into the world of private chefing.
Gotcha. That's where you're working now?
Yes. But I was in California, and I got a job with Will and Jada Smith as like a kitchen assistant.
Wow.
And it was like random, like off a Craigslist ad, like high profile family. I had no idea who they were until like I walked into their house, and I was signing like the non-disclosure form, and I was reading it, and I was like, oh my God, like so excited.
Super excited.
So I worked there for 2.5 years. And I think that after culinary school, because after college, I was a little lost. I went to culinary school. I was loving culinary school.
Yeah. But
after culinary school, for maybe like a few weeks, I didn't want to work in a restaurant. Like I had this little stupid job at like Universal Studios, like cafe, like cooking not even real food.
Just killing some time.
Yeah, just killing time. And then when I got this job, I was like, I'm supposed to be here. Like it was like a sign, like this is where I'm supposed to be going.
And of course. What year was that?
When?
Yeah.
2010.
Okay.
March 9th, 2010.
So that was like that first
day.
big gig, like, okay, I've arrived. I can see where this makes sense for me.
Exactly. And although I knew what I was doing, or in my mind, I thought I knew what I was doing, it was like a big point of validation for people that, like, older people that are like, what are you going to culinary school for? They're like, now my niece works for Will and Jada Smith. Like,
Something that they can be proud of and make sense for them.
Exactly. even though like, yeah, I loved it, but it was still just like a notch on the belt.
And that's
I
a big
guess.
thing too, like when you're pursuing your passion or your dream, like people don't understand it for a long time. And you have to have that perseverance and that dedication that you'll do it regardless.
Yes,
Even if no one else sees it for me, I must see it for myself.
for sure.
So 8 years later from Will and Jada, talk about your private chef career and what you're doing with real life cooking.
So 8 years later, so after Will and Jada, I basically moved to New York when I was 25.
Yeah.
Another huge risk for me. I just moved with nothing.
Because you were in LA.
I was in LA.
Yeah.
I just packed 3 bags, moved to my best friend's couch, and I was like, I'm gonna live on your couch for 3 months. If I don't, if I can't pay you rent after 3 months, I'll start paying you rent after 3 months, but please give me these 3 months to get my life together because I have nothing. And so I lived on their couch.
That's a pretty good negotiation right there you did.
Yeah, and I mean, I cooked, so they were like, yeah, sure, come on and stay.
Right.
But within like a week of being in New York, and I moved in February, so people always are like, wow, you really want to be in New York because you moved in winter. It wasn't like I even came here in the fun time. But within a week, I had a job as like a broker. Like I had all these little random jobs just to make money. And then, but by April, I found a family that I ended up working for 4 years. And I was private chefing for them.
Yeah. So being a private chef, are you able to have like one family that you work for, or do you have to have like freelance multiple families?
So there's a few different ways you can do private chefing. You can work just for one family like full time, and most of the times they'll pay their families like the Smiths who will pay you like benefits, and it's like, but it's like a full time schedule. Like if they're going somewhere, you're going with them. Generally, I mean, every family differs on what they want. But since I've been in New York, I've mainly been able to freelance.
Okay.
So when I found that family in April of 2013, I was only working 2 days a week. And then in the summers, I would work like 4 days a week in the Hamptons with them. But that allowed me, in my mind way back then, I was like, oh, I have so much free time to build my own brand. And like, I've started real life cooking now, but I always had this dream of like being on TV and being this media presence in food. But back when I was 25 and living in New York and only working 2 days a week, I was just having fun all the time.
Yeah.
Like,
what's the end goal?
The end goal is to have my own TV show.
Gotcha. Cooking show.
Yes, cooking show, because growing up, I was like a weird kid that watched all these Food Network shows. Like after school, I'd be like, oh my gosh, Martha Stewart's on at 4 o'clock, or real life, there's a show called Cooking Live. Like, oh my gosh, I need to be home to watch it. But also growing up, as American as I felt, I didn't see anyone that looked like me, that was cooking like me on TV. So from a very young age, I was aware of that gap. Because if they look like me, they were generally like frying chicken. Like, no offense to fried chicken, it's delicious, but not everyone that's black and brown just fries chicken.
Right.
Like, there's so much diversity within our people,
culture,
our culture, exactly. And that's totally missing from food media.
I agree.
So that's the void I'm wanting to fill.
I hear you. Where do you find inspiration?
I find inspiration through food, and like I really enjoy teaching people how to cook. So when I get feedback about my own food, or when I've even helped someone like, oh, you should cut like this, and they're like, wow, I never knew that. Like that really inspires me to keep going and keep pushing. And I just think in general as a society, like we should all be cooking. Like,
Really?
yeah.
I don't know about that.
No, we should.
I like to eat. I don't like to cook.
No, it's like we are the only animals that cook our own food. Like, just take, what? Does a donkey cook its food? Does a monkey cook its food? Like, no one cooks food.
Maybe
We have
you're right.
fire. Exactly. So we should think of this as like so important, and like it's intrinsically like good to cook for yourself, even if it's like just grilling cheese, making a grilled cheese. There you go.
So this show is all about passion and purpose. And our mission is to close the racial wealth gap. And I believe that we do that through mentorship, transferring knowledge, and collaboration with dope influencers like yourself. One thing that we say is passion changes everything, because I believe if you're working in your passion, it'll take you one step closer to finding your purpose. You've been in the cooking game for a while. You've been doing a lot of different shows, your own platform, and I think that you've found a way to walk in your purpose. So I would like to ask you, what would you say is your passion, and when did you know?
So obviously my passion is food. I love food probably more than a lot of people in the world. But not only food, that's why I can't work in a restaurant necessarily, because in a restaurant you're dealing with food all the time, but privately and the media platforms are teaching people how to cook really encompasses the whole experience of food, like the community around food, eating and enjoying food. It's not about just the creation or using like 500-year-old balsamic vinegar or like $1,000 truffles. Like, food is not about that to me. It's about nourishing your body, nourishing your soul, talking to people, sitting around at a table, having
Conversations
dinner,
that go on over
conversations that go on over food. It's about the whole experience. And I think, and normally, I noticed from a very young age when I was a kid that when you're eating, you're generally happy. Like, you're not really eating angry, like, oh, I'm so angry. So that really inspires me.
I like to dance when I'm eating.
Yeah, I do too. When the food is really good, you're like, so good. And sing too. So that really inspired me. Like, food is happiness, food is love, and it encompasses like these really intrinsic human things within us. And that is what drives me every single day.
What's been your biggest challenge in your whole freelance and culinary career?
I think that my biggest challenge throughout the whole experience of being a chef, becoming a chef, has been myself. Because when I am able to get over myself and just decide to do something, it happens. Like, literally it happens. Like, it's really about just like switching your mental capacity to making your challenges become like benefits. Opportunities, exactly. Instead of looking at like, oh my gosh, my life is so hard, blah, blah, blah. Like, change your circumstances.
Yeah.
And obviously it starts with changing your mind. But even with real life cooking, media and food is something I've always wanted to do. Obviously, I moved to New York. I got distracted. I was having the time of my life. I did start a cooking series called Let's Cook In that was on YouTube for a little while. But I had a lot of excuses about, oh, I need to find an editor. We have to have the same time. We have to have a videographer. It has to look perfect. So real life cooking, I'm doing a meal from start to finish on live stream TV. There's no excuses.
Right.
So if something goes wrong, I just have to fix it, which is much like real life.
Right, exactly.
And kind of like my whole philosophy for living if I just get outside of my own head.
So what frustrates you the most about today's culture when you talk about trying to create a more authentic life? What are you seeing that lacks?
So yeah, today's culture frustrates me a lot. With the onset of things of Instagram and Facebook, I mean, these things have been around for a while now. It's kind of like I'm conflicted because on one point I want to be like someone that's authentic in this space, but at the same time there's so much unauthenticity. What's the word there?
Smoke and mirrors.
Yes, there's so much smoke and mirrors where someone could have like 1 million followers and people are like, wow, their life is so great, but they also have a camera crew like following them around and editing every little thing. And even I get in arguments with people all the time, like they're like, you should like do your hair this way if you're gonna like take pictures for Instagram. I'm like, that's not how life is. But they're like, well, you're not gonna get any followers. So it's kind of like a balance, like, right? Like, yes, I should comb my hair if I want people to like take a second look at me. But at the same time, it's like, I am who I am, and I don't feel that way all the time. Like,
but isn't there a lane for that? Can't you just be yourself and still have people who respect you and follow you for that commitment?
Yes, for sure there's a lane, but I think in a world like today, it's tempting to have like quick growth, right? So it's not...
To play to the appeal of sex appeal and beauty.
Exactly,
glamour.
You'll get a lot more engagement, followers, and things of that nature quicker.
So is that a bad thing though, really?
I think so, because I don't think those followers are necessarily following you for the right reasons. I want you to follow me because of my education, the time I put into cooking, and I want you to really want to know how to cook, which if that's not your thing, cool, like fine, it should be your thing. But but I don't want you to follow me because like you think I look pretty. Like that's not what I'm about.
I've seen people who will use their sex appeal, their beauty to get like more people in their funnel, so to speak. And like once you get these eyes on you, then you kind of like narrow them down into like the actual content that you're trying to promote. Yeah,
I know a lot of people that do that too. It's like, you know, sort of like play to your audience or fake it till you make it. But I feel like I don't know, maybe I'm just being hard-headed.
This is not you.
Maybe I'm just being hard-headed and I'm like missing all this opportunity. But like, it's so hard for me to be fake. Like, I can't be something that I'm not.
I hear you. That's important. Yeah. I think at the end of the day, you have to be yourself. And that's what's gonna shine, that's what's gonna help you grow. Are there any books that you've read? Because I think readers are leaders. And what you put in is going to like basically project out. What are you reading? What content? Are you reading blogs, books, magazines? Where are you finding your knowledge?
I just read The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
That's a good book.
Which was a really good book.
Yeah. What did you take away from that?
I took away that I'm too nice of a person. And I thought it was gonna be repetitive because a lot of times those sorts of books are like repetitive and you feel like you're reading the same thing.
I've
over
read
and
so
over.
many personal development books, and at some point I realized like I have a pretty good grasp on personal development because you, like you said, you see the same things over and over. And then I'm like, all right, now I gotta start applying all the stuff that I know and just move on to some other genres.
Yeah, that's the thing. But I think that book in particular helped me like just start living in the now, like stop making excuses.
And we have tons of millennials and Gen Zers and even some seasoned professionals that watch this show that are probably gonna watch this episode and wonder, how do I get involved in the cooking industry? I have this passion, everyone says I should do it. How do I start my cooking business? Or how do I start my cooking platform to be a private chef? So can you tell them what is the first step they should take and what's the mindset of sustainability in this field?
So if you want to be a chef, I got this advice a long time ago when I first started out. Someone was just cook every day. Like just cook something every day. Be curious about what you're cooking. Just cook something every single day. And then in terms of like building a brand or becoming a private chef, there are agencies that you can apply to and like but most of them want you to have experience. So that's why it's important for you to be cooking every day.
So last question, best meal to eat and best meal to cook, what would you say?
So there's so many options. You can't say like the
You gotta
best.
pick.
So generally I'm a pretty basic eater, funny enough, because I'm a chef. I love like a delicious like steak, medium rare, amazing. Also being from California, I love tacos, any kind of taco. But in general, yeah, tacos that are braised for a super long time, like braised short rib tacos are really good.
And this is what you like to eat?
Yeah, I mean, I like to eat everything.
Okay, so what do you like to cook? What's the best meal you ever made? Like,
so Thanksgiving's my favorite holiday, obviously centered around food. And I love like the warm feelings and flavors of fall. And Thanksgiving, I think, encapsulates all of those. Like you have your roasted, well, actually at home, my dad smokes a turkey, which is super good.
Nice.
But I make all the sides. So like you have like your braised kale or collard greens, you have your mac and cheese, you have some cranberry sauce. Like
y'all having a Black Thanksgiving.
all of those. I mean, we have like a mix. It was funny, last year Chris came and he's like, I've never heard of any of this stuff. I was like, it's all like a variation of, you know, your normal stuff. But yeah, I love Thanksgiving and I love all the food and like the warmth of fall. Fall's also my favorite season because it's just like a time for eating and a time to be cozy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, look, I'm glad that you can make it on the show to talk about food. I'm hungry right now.
I should have brought some snacks.
You should have brought some snacks.
Sorry.
Thanksgiving is coming up. I'm already ready for that now. I might pull up to your crib.
You're welcome to come
Tell your sports agent that we're coming up.
Come on through.
But yeah, for real, thank you for coming on the show. Definitely want to have you on the platform in the future. Maybe a panel, maybe a workshop, do some cooking.
Yeah, awesome. That would be great.
Let everyone know how they can find you and what you have coming up.
So you can find me on all media platforms as Chef Leen, L-E-E-N. And I have real life cooking going on every Sunday. You can actually cook along. I sent out a list on my Instagram and there's an email list you can sign up for. And you can actually cook along as I'm cooking. We make a real meal from start to finish. No gimmicks, no TV magic. And it's a lot of fun. And you can also ask any sort of culinary questions you have along the way and I answer them on camera as well.
Nice, so it's like live.
Yeah, it's live.
Oh, that's very dope.
It's live.
Very dope.
Anything can happen.
Definitely tune into that. I'm gonna be tuning in. Maybe I'll learn how to make a bologna sandwich or something like that.
We make fancier stuff than bologna.
That's all I need to know how to make because I'm not cooking much else. You guys can follow me, Johnny Bailey, Instagram, Twitter. Follow ShineHard Fam on Instagram. And of course, visit the website, shinehardfamily.org. Our mission is to close the racial wealth gap. So we're gonna bring talks, speakers, influencers, and creatives to you, whether it's digitally or in person. If you guys wanna get involved, all the information is on the website. Do the work, follow your passion, and shine hard.
Shine hard.
Kathleen.
And keep cooking.
Yeah, eat good. Kathleen, thank you so much.
Thank you.